Hello, and thank you for being one of the volunteers for the reopening of St. Joseph Parish for public worship beginning this weekend, June 20th and 21st. Before going into this weekend, we wanted to share with you a little bit of the lessons learned this week and a couple of procedural notes. Since our first meeting, which was on June 7th, every volunteer is going to be assigned to one of these roles. A couple of reminders. There are 3 roles in which a volunteer may be part of the group of 25 to attend the Mass. That is the role of lector, of sacristan, and of usher. All other volunteers for the Mass which we are volunteering for, the expectation is that we may not be able to receive the Most Holy Eucharist because doing so would put us over the 25 number limit mandated by the County of Santa Clara and reinforced by the Diocese of San Jose. That said, Father has stated that should there be room, first preference is given in the communion line to the volunteers if the number gathered does not exceed 25. Of those roles, one of them is plaza preparation. Plaza preparation takes place on the weekdays, the beginning of the day, Sunday, and on Saturday. This has to do with setting up all of the materials that we must use to ensure the safety of our parishioners. This includes tables, signage, sanitizers, thermometers, and the like. A reminder to all volunteers that should you forget to bring a mask, we do have masks available for volunteers only. And, for emergency cases, I believe there may be some gloves also. It's slipping my mind because I bring my own. A limited number of brown plastic chairs are to be provided for Mass attendees who are unable to stand due to health reasons. The use of chairs is discouraged because we don't have the time or the manpower to properly disinfect all the chairs. We did receive a training from the janitorial service regarding the use of the disinfectant chemicals, what their concerns are, the proper procedure with how to use them, and we will be passing that information along. The ground markings must be intact so that people know where to walk. They have been there all week. Should any be missing, they will need to be reestablished. For this reason, initial preparation could take some time. To the Mass time roles or the preparatory Mass time roles, there's the monitor of the entrance of Hope Street. So this is a person who stands in front of the church, only allowing those who are attending the Mass to enter the courtyard area, politely and in a Christian way, of course. There's the check-in table, which is for the registration to ensure that attendees have reservations. This is also where the temperature taking station is. The time to consider using a face shield is if you should find yourself in a role where you feel that for your safety or the safety of others, wearing a face shield would be beneficial. Examples of these is when one has to be face-to-face with another person. The check-in table is one of them. The list of roles and duties has most of these listed out. It's a PDF file that's being sent. The next monitor is the Hope Breezeway and Sobrato elevator entrance. So what is known is, from the parking garage, free entry is allowed into the plaza through the Sobrato building elevator. Now, we cannot control that elevator, and yet we're still responsible for those who congregate with the use of it. At the same time, there's a breezeway, which exists between the 2 apartment buildings, which must also be monitored because people can use that as an entrance. Because of location, the person who monitors the breezeway can also monitor the elevator. They're standing in a place where they can observe both and still be far enough back from the primary gathering to not be considered part of the 25-person gathering. The exit is on Church Street, and a monitor is needed there. We do have the red velvet ropes that are set up to go there. The key is that no entry for St. Joseph Parish is allowed through there. Obviously, tenants of the apartment building or of 599 Castro or their customers have free reign. But what we are responsible for is the church. The garage. So only 4 people who do not live together are allowed in the elevator at any one time. A monitor is required in the parking garage level 1 on the elevator side to ensure that before entry into the stairwell or the elevator, masks are worn, social distancing is preserved, and hand sanitization is made available. For the lector, the role of the lector, which differs a little bit from our normal liturgy, is to monitor the communion line, being one of the people who is part of the 25-person gathering and is allowed to be inside the gathering. ensure that people have hand sanitizers when approaching the priest, and just basically overseeing. Also, that role has to help sanitize the chairs after Mass in the event that any were used. Full disclosure, on the weekdays, there are some chairs used because weekday Mass includes Holy Hour and Adoration. So there's a longer period of time when a person is around. Also, there are no crowds on the weekdays. On the weekend is when we expect to have issues of people passing in proximity to each other. We have not had that issue on the weekdays. The density of people coming and going and arriving hasn't warranted it. That being the case, a full sanitization procedure is required when setting out the chairs, when putting them away. It is possible on the weekdays because there is not a following Mass and there's no danger of drawing a crowd or a congregation. The role of sacristan assists the lector and the usher with these basic sanitization methods. The role of sacristan actually performs most of their duties before and after Mass and is under the direct supervision of Father for these kinds of things. The usher monitor the flow of people during Mass, particularly within the congregation. There are people to observe from the outside, but inside the gathering, this must be monitored. The usher also has one of the roles of putting hand sanitizer into people's hands at the sign of peace. Father has been particular that the Agnus Dei does not begin until hand sanitization has begun. During the weekdays, this isn't so bad because there aren't so many people, but on the weekend we can expect this to be a busier time. Therefore, the sacristan or lector may have to help with this effort in order to keep the time down, keep people from congregating too long, and to keep the line flowing smoothly. So once again, at the sign of peace, hand sanitizer is distributed. As a matter of caution, sanitation, hygiene, this is another time when one has to be careful about being face-to-face with another parishioner for safety and for spread of germs. It's also recommended that whoever pumps the hand sanitizer be gloved. The reason why people don't help themselves to the public hand sanitizer is because then they would be touching the bottle. And so gloves are recommended to be worn when distributing the hand sanitizer. After the last Mass of the day, whether it's the daily Mass, the Saturday Mass, or the Sunday Mass, there is an extraordinary amount of cleanup to be done. The sacristan duties are the most extreme at that time because the altar is stripped, the cloths are taken off, crucifixes, candlesticks, and other accoutrements, after which everything must be sanitized. Any surface which was subject to being used or touched by a priest or parishioner is subject to be sanitized. So a couple of lessons learned or frequently asked questions or things that are likely to come up. Again, with respect to chairs. Even though we are only providing chairs at a need and a limited amount because of hygiene, the reason we don't encourage people to bring their own chairs is because they would be bringing the germs from their own homes into a public space among other people. On that same point, at a need, especially in overbearing heat, the plaza itself has stone surfaces that a person can sit on. I suppose that best judgment is needed there. On the one hand, sitting on one of the stone ledges is sitting on a public surface, but we are not responsible for that stone surface. So discretion would need to be used in that particular case. Obviously, anyone in distress from the heat should be tended to and comforted as soon as possible. Age of attendees. We reaffirm what the Santa Clara County Public Health Department has identified as the at-risk age group of 65 and over. On the weekdays, Father has not strictly enforced it, partly because there are no crowds. And it is easier to ensure proper social distancing and deal with that on a case-by-case basis. On a weekend, it is entirely possible that we will have parishioners or congregants passing by each other, and therefore the concern becomes higher. How to handle those kinds of situations, I suppose that we will learn as we go. That being said, most of the duties have been written down. What we would encourage is that collaboration is needed now like never before. It is certain that people think of things that have not been thought of. We are in uncharted territory. Please email the Parish Liturgy Board with any ideas you have, any concerns that you have, anything that sticks out. God bless you all. Thank you again for being with us as we go through this time together.